How's it going, guys? Today we're covering logbook entries and certificate endorsements. The objective is to develop knowledge of certificates and endorsements, and the key elements we want to take away from this are the AC 6165, that's the advisory circular covering logbook endorsements required and required records. The elements we're going to cover are logbook entries, student pilot endorsements, preparation of practical test requirements, flight review endorsements, your CFI records, and how to maintain your CFI certificate. Why do we care? Well, we want to make sure that we are maintaining a good record of what training we're doing so that it's easy to apply for pilot ratings, pilot jobs. If you don't have your records in order, if it's not well kept, then it's going to make things a lot more difficult to apply for pilot ratings. Your students are going to have a hard time getting jobs. So we want to, maintain good records. Now, your logbook entries. Pretty much every pilot should have a logbook where you log your time. As the flight instructor, you should be making sure that your student pilot is logging the date, the type of aircraft, the type of training performed, how long you went, whether or not it was a cross-country flight. And if you need to endorse or if you need to sign their logbook, then you need to put your name, the date, your CFI certificate, just to make sure that, it is accurate. And then let's talk about student pilots. So the way that I think about it, I like to break it up into different phases. So there's the discovery flight, and there's pre-solo, solo, and then check ride prep, right? So for your discovery flight, there's really not much that goes into it. Basically, your student might come to you and say, hey, I want to, go take a discovery flight and see if I like it. You hop in the plane, you take off, hand them the controls. They, try a few turns. You come back and land. If they like it, great. If they don't, that's okay. But for the second lesson, you must have proof of citizenship. So you have to sign their logbook, and a sample endorsement is in the advisory circular 6165H, basically saying that you have verified that they are a U.S. citizen, and if they are not a U.S. citizen, then you need to hand them off to the TSA to make sure that they are vetted and they can continue their flight training. So very first thing you should do, TSA endorsement, verify that they are a citizen. Something like a passport will do. Now, as they progress through their training, they're going to get to the point where they're starting to look at soloing, flying the plane solo for the first time. So here are the pre-solo requirements. Where's my pen? There it is. Here are the pre-solo requirements. The knowledge test. This is not the knowledge exam given by the FAA. This is a pre-solo quiz or test that you give your student to make sure that they are aware of the area, their specific aircraft, that kind of stuff. Flight training, we must log specific flight training. There are 15 items in 61.87 in the FAR that we must make sure are written out in their logbook saying that you completed their training on those 15 items. And then you can sign them off for initial solo. It's good for 90 days. You don't have to give them the full 90 days. In fact, it's a good idea to put some restrictions. They are good to solo for a specific day. 90 days is kind of a long window to endorse a brand new solo pilot. And if you want to know how to actually write them out, go to Advisory Circular 6165H, and it gives you word for word how you should sign it in their logbook. And then if you need to endorse them again for an additional 90 days, there's the additional solo. So that's pre-solo and then solo. Now, after their first solo, you can start having them explore the area a bit more. So first of all, you want to make sure that you fly from your departure point to the destination point and back with your student pilot, so you know that they are comfortable flying that route. When you think that they're ready, you can endorse them to do repeated solos to and from different airports within 25 nautical miles in accordance with 6193. And the sample endorsement is here again in the advisory circular. And so that is the 25 nautical mile. So there's the initial solo, 25 miles, and there's a 50 nautical mile solo endorsement. This is for repeated solo takeoff and landings within 50 nautical miles. Again, check out the endorsements in the advisory circular for how to word it, word for word. And then for each individual solo cross country, you must review their flight plan before you can endorse it, just to make sure that they are checking the weather, checking the route, that they're not going to do anything goofy. Okay, so that's your solo endorsements, and then other solo endorsements. If you want to send your student into the class Bravo, you have to conduct some training to ensure that they are mentally ready for it. If you need to send them to a specific airport in the class Bravo, like SeaTac, I personally wouldn't, but if you need to, here are those sample endorsements. And again, go check that advisory circular. And then you don't need to solo. Students don't need to solo at night, but if you wanted to have them get that experience of flying alone at night, you can sign them off for a solo flight. And again, it is in AC 6165H. So that is pretty much all the solo endorsements you're going to be doing. And then there's the private pilot. Once you're ready to send them to the Checkride, here are a couple of endorsements you got to give them. First of all, the knowledge exam. Now, this is the actual knowledge exam, and you want to make sure that they are ready. You've covered all the required training, and the endorsement looks like it's going to look like a ground endorsement or a knowledge exam endorsement, and it's in 6165H. Again, if you want the word for word wording, it's all going to be in that advisory circular. So their knowledge exam, when they're ready for the practical exam, you're going to send them out with the endorsement. And then if they need to review anything that they, if they fail the knowledge exam, then you'll need to do a review of deficiencies on the written exam and then re-endorse them for the knowledge exam. And you want to review the prerequisites for all of your endorsements to make sure that they are completing all the experience required. So let's talk about preparing for the practical test. First of all, as with any test, you want to make sure that they know their stuff. They should be popping and popping. Every time you ask them a question, they should be ready to respond. It doesn't need to be perfect, but they should have a working knowledge of aviation before you even think about sending them to the practical test. There's the experience requirements. Check the specific rating you're sending them for, and just I like to make a checklist out of it. Just say, yep, we've done the 40 hours, check. We've done 20 hours of time with an instructor, check. 10 hours of solo, check. 3 hours of cross country, check. Basically, just run down this list and make sure everything's covered. And when everything's checked off, you're good to go. And of course, use your own judgment to make sure that they are actually, mentally and physically ready for the Checkride. And then, of course, there's IACRA. Everybody loves pay work. Log into IACRA, complete the application, and then send them on their way. Now let's talk about flight review endorsements. As a certified flight instructor, you are authorized to give pilots their 24 calendar month biennial flight review. Now, this isn't a test. A lot of people go to their flight review kind of with that anxious feeling, like I'm going to a test. I'm going to go do battle with my CFI. And that's not the case. It's more along the lines of going for a yearly checkup with your doctor. Just a preventative thing, just to check in, make sure we're brushing our teeth, we're doing our touch, our 3 takeoffs and landings, that kind of stuff. Just to make sure you're staying healthy as a pilot. Now, when you complete a flight review, you need to make a logbook endorsement in the pilot's logbook. Now, if they fail a flight review, you don't necessarily need to put in, hey, this person failed the flight review. You can just log it as training and then have them come back to complete the logbook endorsement. And the FAA does provide a pretty neat guideline on how to complete. There's a pilot background information, little quiz, that kind of stuff. And of course, you can customize it for your own students. But remember, it's not meant to be a hard exam. It's more of a check-in to make sure that they are staying up to date with knowledge and they're doing the right thing. They're practicing their good ADM, and just staying good frosty pilots. Now, flight instructors need to maintain records of all the students that they worked with for the last 3 years. That includes any solo endorsements, knowledge exam endorsements, and scores if you've sent them out to the knowledge exam or practical exams. So keep your record for 3 years, and you should be good to go. And now, maintaining your flight instructor certificate. You also need to complete your biennial flight review, but then there's also the CFI certificate. You never lose it, but it can expire after 24 calendar months. So there are a couple of things you can do. First of all, get a new certificate. If you're a CFI, get a CFII, get a CF or MEI. Keep learning as an instructor and getting more ratings, and your biennial, your 2-year clock will reset. You can work as a chief airman at a Part 121 or Part 135 school, I think is what it was. Double check that. 121 or 135, yeah. You can also complete a flight instructor refresher course. You can do a military flight instructor proficiency check. If you participate in the Wings program, if you sign off 5 students for 15 Wings credits, that'll reset your 2-year clock. And also, oh yeah, if you sign off 5 students to complete their check ride and you have an 80% pass rate, you can send an application to the FAA to update or to reinstate or reconfirm, I guess, your flight instructor certificate. And then if you want to get your gold seal certificate, that will also reset your 2-year clock. That's 10 students signed off for the check ride with an 80% pass rate, and you get that gold seal. Yeah, good to go. And if your flight instructor certificate lapses, if you let that 2-year clock run down, you're going to have to go back for another CFI check ride, a full CFI check ride to reinstate your flight instructor certificate. So don't let it expire. I think I mentioned it, the flight instructor refresher course. If I didn't, that's another way you can reset your clock. Yeah. Okay. So to conclude, we talked about logbook endorsements. We talked about logging time in your student's logbook. We talked about maintaining your flight instructor certificate and endorsing student pilots. Now, if there are any questions, just drop them in the comments. If there's anything I missed, I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, thanks for watching. See ya.